This is Dr.P back with more creepypastas. Yep, we're back to reading classic creepypastas from back in my day, stuff that I enjoyed, find nostalgic, or have completely missed in general. Today, we're going with that one, completely missed in general. This one is a Mario 64 creepypasta, just named Super Mario 64. It looks like it was originally posted by somebody with the name of ProGamer664 in the year 2010, June to be exact. And it was originally posted to, GameFAQs, the GameFAQs website. But it's been it's been moved over to the Creepypasta wiki. It is also still on the GameFAQs website. But without further delay, let's get into this Super Mario 64 creepypasta. I always liked Super Mario 64 when I was a kid. I remember playing it at my aunt's house all the time. Well, one day, a pop-up appeared out of nowhere as I was watching gameplay footage on YouTube. I was a little startled and was about to close the window until I realized that it was a website showing a mint-condition copy of Super Mario 64 for sale. There was a picture and everything. I usually don't trust these things, but the feeling of nostalgia overpowered me, and I wanted to buy it. The whole business was peculiar, seeing as how the owner of the game wanted the buyer to send an envelope containing $10 to the address on the site, instead of using something like PayPal. What makes things even more strange was that when I tried to gain access to the website, I wrote down the URL after encountering problems with the game. The page was nowhere to be found. A few days after the $10 was mailed, I got a package containing the new copy of the game. The first thing I noticed when I opened the small box was that the official sticker with Mario flying in the air was apparently peeled off or something. In its place was a piece of duct tape with Mario crudely written on it in permanent marker. I felt a little ripped off, but as long as the game worked, I didn't care. I got out my Nintendo 64 and put the cartridge in. The screen turned on with the familiar Mario face that you could stretch and twist aimlessly. I remember laughing all the time at the results as a kid, and decided to mess around for old time's sake. I moved the cursor over to Mario's ear, and pulled it to elven proportions. I was going to do the same with the other ear, when the TV suddenly produced loud static. Mario's whole head started deforming and twisting in ways that I didn't even know were possible for the model. Random sound effects from the game started playing along with the static. As all this was occurring, I could hear a faint voice whispering in Japanese. The voice was stammering and whimpering. I immediately shut off the game and tried again. I didn't bother with the Mario head this time, just selected a new file and started playing. When I selected the file, the game skipped the opening monologue by Peach in the courtyard outside. Mario was just placed right inside the castle. Creepier still, Bowser didn't say anything either. I tried to ignore it and played anyway. However, I also noticed that there was no music, just dead silence. There weren't any toads around to talk to. The only door I could enter was the Bob-omb battlefield. The other doors wouldn't even respond to my button commands. The portrait to Bob-omb battlefields wasn't the usual picture. It was just a stark white canvas. I was still trying to convince myself that these were just minor glitches, and that they wouldn't affect the gameplay at all. Once I entered the portrait, the image suddenly went from a black canvas to the Lethal Lava Land painting. You know, the slightly unsettling image of the flame with the evil smile. Yeah, that's when I started getting really suspicious. The mission select menu came up, and yet another weird detail was present. Instead of Big Bob-omb on the summit, the mission was called turn back. I have no idea what drove me to press A, but I did. The level seemed normal. Everything was how I remembered it. I thought I could finally enjoy my favorite childhood game. But then I saw him, Luigi. I was absolutely shocked. He was never in this game. His model wasn't even a Mario palette swap. He looked like a completely original model. Luigi just stood there until I tried to approach him. He started running at unexpected speeds. I followed suit and went through the level. Strange things happened when I pursued him. Each time I picked up a coin, the enemies and music would get slower, and the scenery would look darker in color and more morbid. It kept gradually getting worse until I collected a 5th coin. Then the music just stopped. The enemies laid down on the ground like they were dead. I was seriously freaked out, but I kept chasing Luigi. I went up the hill. No cannonballs rolled down trying to knock me over. I really wasn't surprised at this point. Luigi was always just out of my sight as I ran. Once I reached the summit, I saw yet another object out of place. A small cottage was all that was seen on top of the hill. Luigi was nowhere to be found. The cottage was certainly odd-looking for a Mario game. It was old, plain, and broken down. Regardless of my fears at that moment, I had Mario enter the cottage. As soon as the door closed, a disturbing picture of a hanged Luigi immediately popped up, along with a very frightening scare chord. It sounded like a violin screech, accompanied by a loud piano banging. Mario fell to his knees and sobbed for roughly 5 minutes. Then, the screen irised out. I returned to the castle. Mario just slumped out of the painting. The image switched from the lethal lava land portrait to the image of Luigi hanging himself. The room was different this time. It was now a small hallway. Toads with blank expressions and white robes lined the side of the hallway. There was another painting at the opposite end that just completely and utterly scared me. It was a picture of my family. It wasn't even a photo from the time Super Mario 64 was released. It was a very, very recent photo. I remember posing for it last weekend. I reached for the on-off switch on the N64. There was no way I was going to play this anymore. However, when I flipped the switch, the game was still on. I flipped it back and forth, but to no avail. I tried unplugging the whole system, but it never left the screen. I was even still able to control Mario. I couldn't just leave it on forever, so I kept playing. I went to the photo of my family and jumped in. Only one mission was available, of course. This one was called Run, Don't Walk. I selected the mission. Let's go. The level started in a flooded hallway with platforms floating on the water. Mario landed on one of these, and the camera turned to show what was behind. A silent black void was slowly approaching Mario. It didn't look like anything. It didn't even look like finished graphics. Just a giant blocky black blob. I started jumping from platform to platform, with no goal in sight. I kept running. The darkness slowly but surely gaining speed. This kept going on for what felt like hours. I was really doubting there would ever be an end. Mario was just going in circles. Finally, the black blob void thing caught up with Mario and enveloped him in darkness. He didn't scream or resist at all. It just consumed him. Mario fell out of the painting back into the castle. I lost one of my 3 lives. The room was different now. Some of the toes were gone, and the painting looked different. My family and I were in the same positions, but our bodies were partially decomposed. It looked too real to be photoshopped. It looked more like someone just took our dead bodies and posed them. Regardless, I jumped in the painting again. Mario was in a small room. There was still only one mission available. It was called I'm Right Here, spelled just like that. I selected the mission and prepared for the worst. Mario landed in a small, dark room. There are no visible way out. The room was empty except for a piano in the corner. I knew what that meant. I was stuck in there with the mad piano. I approached it and it started chasing me as always. There was no way to damage it, so I had no choice but to let Mario take damage. When he lost all his health, the usual death animation didn't happen. Mario just got mauled by the piano. He fell, and his blood and guts spilled on the floor, and the camera panned to a top-down view of his corpse. A distorted version of the merry-go-round music from Big Boo's Haunt played as the screen slowly transitioned from the in-game shot to a photorealistic sketch of Mario's dead body in the same view as the shot. It was very unsettling. I was crying softly as I gazed upon the image. I lost another life. The photo of my family was shown again. We were even more rotten than before. The view zoomed into the painting, like I was warping again. I was greeted with a shot of Peach's castle from the outside. The castle was crumbling in ruins. The fields were on fire. The sky was pitch black. Bowser's laugh played on loop in the background as children mockingly chanted, "You couldn't save her." This went on for a long time until a close-up of Peach's face, accompanied with an extremely loud screech, interrupted the loop without notice. Peach's mouth was wide open, as if she was screaming, but her eyes were empty, black holes. Suddenly I was back in the hallway as Mario was once again ejected out of the painting. Now all the toads were gone, and me and my family looked positively repulsive. Maggots were wriggling around in holes in our flesh. Guts were spilling out of our body. My dad's eyeballs were hanging loose from its socket. Ugh. It was too much to bear. But something still urged me to trudge on. I jumped in the painting with only one life remaining. This time, there was no name for the mission, just blank space where the title would be. I selected the mission, and Mario landed on a very small island in the middle of the ocean. There was a solitary sign. It only read, "Dive." I did just as it said and entered the water. The ocean was dark and empty, and there were no fish. I wasn't even able to see anything in the water besides Mario. I swam downwards. I kept going for quite some time, yet Mario never ran out of breath. I counted roughly 10 minutes of swimming until I decided to go back up. Just as I turned Mario around, it came. A huge, and I mean huge, Nagi the eel came out of nowhere and swallowed Mario whole. I was dumbfounded. It went by so fast I wasn't even sure what I saw. The game over screen didn't show up. All that happened was a fade out. The photo of my family and I was shown again. We were plain skeletons now. Once again, it looked very real. I couldn't move the camera at all. It just stayed focused on the picture. I shut off the game and turned it on again. I chose my file, but it just went to the skeleton photo of my family. I shut off the game and turned it on again. I chose my file, but it just went to the skeleton photo of my family. I tried this about 3 more times before giving up. I desperately wanted to stop, but some force kept me from walking away. I decided to select the only other save file. The camera once again focused on the skeleton picture, but this time they were in a different position, as if they were a different family.
Well, that was definitely a story. I don't know how to feel about this. I don't. Now, I don't know if this is their first creepypasta or not, but I just found it to be not so great. I like the beginning. I like the buildup. I like I like when things aren't supposed to be there, but you could realistically see them being there. That's scary. But then it gets to the point where the skeleton photo, really, of you and your family, that's not scary. I'm sorry. I almost died laughing every time I read the word skeleton. I don't know why it got me, but you could probably hear my voice sort of. I was really, really holding back laughter. Maybe I'll add that at the end. I probably won't, but the skeletons was funny. I can't, anytime I think about it, whatever. The whole thing with Luigi being there, and then, him, I didn't like that he was hung, I guess, but that wasn't very spooky or anything, but, it happened. Maybe I'm just getting too old for these kind of things. I don't know. I didn't find this one to be that scary, and to be honest, it kind of sucks, because I really enjoy Mario 64, and I really did enjoy a few of these things that were thrown in there. I did enjoy the oddity of there being Luigi there, or the paintings changing to Lethal Lava Land. That is weird. And I really, really enjoyed the toads in the robes. I thought that was an interesting thing to just a picture. I thought that was a very interesting and very odd and creepy that it wasn't added upon or anything like that. I feel like it has something to do with, some toad cult. That would be an interesting story if it went that direction, but it just sort of dropped that idea, it felt like, towards the end, and went to the cliche, oh, my family was in the photo, and then, oh, well, they turned into skeletons. The overuse of gore was a little too much for my taste as well. I don't particularly find somebody saying, oh, there was blood, and I'm like, oh, that's scary. No, that's not. Blood can be used as a descriptor, but if it's the main focus, it's not going to work. It really isn't. I don't find that to be scary in these types of stories and stuff like that. The whole overuse of, oh, we found a sketchy website or a sketchy Bootman Bill or fucking, oh, I went to this old grandpa and I found his game and he cried a bunch and gave it to me, but I still took it. That's overused in a lot of these creepypastas, which it makes sense. Like, you gotta get it some way, and it's hard to think of anything, Anyways, it's hard to think of good ways to do it. I do understand that. Writing your stories can be very difficult sometimes, and sometimes the cop-out way is the way to do it. And maybe this was their first creepypasta, who knows? I really did want to like this one, and I really still do. There are things that I still do like about it, but at the end of the day, I don't think it's my favorite. But I did enjoy it while reading it, and I still do enjoy listening to the audio, editing the audio and all that, listening to it to get my final thoughts. I really did enjoy reading it. So don't take this to heart or anything if the creator ever receives any information on me reading their story or giving criticism. It's not that I don't think it was good. I just think a lot could be expanded upon, or I would have changed a few things. I have notes, so, and hey, maybe my notes aren't right. I did see a lot of people praise this one, and saying that, you know, when they were younger, they really enjoyed it. So, hey, maybe I'm just not the target audience. I do enjoy Mario 64 a lot. I have not 100% beaten the game, and that's what I'm currently working on. Is probably the gameplay that you've seen in the background. And I added photos to more visualize, because again, this is something that I'm very passionate about. I added photos so people who have yet to play this game can really visualize what the story's talking about, with, like, example, Mad Piano. People might not know what that is, even though it's a very popular thing for Mario 64, especially with the older generation. People who haven't played Mario 64 might not know what that is, so there are photos within this one specifically because I wanted to allow people to visualize. That being said, I think that all in all, this story was entertaining enough to keep my interest. I would love to see other things by this author, and I would love to do more creepypastas in the future. Anyways, that is it for me. Dr. Paracelsus signing off.
We were playing skeletons now. Once again, it looked very real. I couldn't move the camera at all. It just... Oh, spooky skeletons. But it just went to the skeleton photo of my family.